You do not exist. If you are captured, your government will immediately disavow any knowledge of your existence. Your family has already mourned your tragic, officially documented death in a routine training helicopter crash over the Pacific. There is no grave, no folded flag, and absolutely no veteran benefits. Welcome to the terrifying absolute zero of the global military machine, the Unacknowledged Black Ops Unit. The general public naively believes that conventional elite special forces are the absolute tip of the spear. They are entirely wrong. Those famous units are merely the highly visible scalpel used when a superpower actually wants the world to know they intervened. But when a government needs to systematically dismantle a sovereign nation from the inside out, completely disrupt a vital global resource supply chain, or permanently erase a massive geopolitical liability without leaving a single identifiable diplomatic fingerprint, they absolutely do not send the official military. They send ghosts. You are about to enter a completely sterilized vacuum where the standard rules of military engagement and the Geneva Conventions are actively considered catastrophic operational liabilities. This is the brutal psychological descent into the deepest layer of state-sponsored warfare ever created. This is the true cost of global hegemony. You will intimately experience the terrifying mental metamorphosis required to completely transform from a fiercely patriotic soldier into a completely disposable, nameless, and faceless asset. You are officially designated as a Tier 3 asset. You carry absolutely no official identification. You possess no identifiable tattoos and carry absolutely no tactical equipment manufactured in your home country. Your customized gear is entirely scrubbed of any traceable serial numbers, and your suppressed weapons are exclusively sourced from shadowy global black markets. Your daily operational theater is not a neatly defined conventional battlefield. It is the chaotic, deeply unstable friction zones of the global South. You absolutely do not fight enemy armies in open combat. Your daily tasks involve meticulously orchestrating undeniable, catastrophic chaos. You are silently inserted into a foreign nation under the cover of pitch-black darkness to quietly sabotage a critical power grid, entirely framing a local opposition group for the massive failure. So you are coldly ordered to execute a high-profile assassination of an anti-Western political figure, meticulously ensuring the crime scene perfectly mimics the signature brutality of a rival local warlord to instantly trigger a devastating regional civil war. At this brutal ground level, you realize the terrifying truth of your shadow existence. You are not a noble soldier, you are an amoral weapon of grand strategic deception, willingly trading your human soul for the cold adrenaline of surviving in the absolute shadows. If you somehow manage to survive the brutal meat grinder of the baseline operational level, your unmatched efficiency is rapidly rewarded. You are elevated to the incredibly critical, highly stressful rank of field team leader. You are no longer just an isolated trigger puller operating in the dark. You are now the tactical architect of the absolutely impossible. You directly command a highly specialized squad of fellow ghosts, operating deep inside hostile territory for excruciating months at a time, without any official logistical support, medical evacuation capabilities, or communication with the outside world. Your daily life is a tightrope walk over an abyss of moral compromise, where the lines between righteous mission and outright criminality blur into a uniform shade of gray. Your primary responsibility violently shifts from simply ensuring your own physical survival to actively managing the complex, inevitable psychological disintegration of your own heavily armed team. You must continuously scan for the microscopic, invisible signs of severe mental fracture. You are the absolute judge, jury, and executioner in the isolated field. If one of your operators suddenly becomes a massive operational liability, suffering a severe mental break and threatening to inadvertently expose the invisible network, you do not formally request a medical extraction. You make the cold, instantaneous, and entirely off-the-book strategic decision to permanently neutralize the massive threat yourself, putting a suppressed bullet in the back of their head and burying their nameless body deep in an unmarked foreign grave just to protect the integrity of the overarching mission. At this intermediate, highly dangerous rank, you also become an absolute master of ruthless local exploitation. You do not bring massive supply convoys with you into the war zone. You violently, systematically appropriate exactly what you need from the surrounding environment. You expertly manipulate deeply entrenched local smuggling networks, aggressively extort highly corrupt regional police commanders, and ruthlessly leverage deep historical ethnic tensions to secretly secure isolated safe houses, untraceable civilian transportation, and absolutely vital human intelligence. You realize with terrifying clarity that true, undeniable power in these chronically unstable regions does not actually come from the barrel of an advanced assault rifle. It comes directly from the absolute ability to seamlessly blend into the chaotic, violent background, actively turning an entire sovereign country's internal political rot into your ultimate tactical advantage. You have successfully become a terrifying maestro of localized, completely deniable destruction. But your dark ambition violently pushes you even further up the invisible chain of command. Your flawless, repeated execution of highly complex, deniable sabotage and targeted elimination successfully earns you a highly coveted, permanent extraction from the physical dirt and blood of the active front lines. You rapidly ascend to the completely secure operational hubs, officially taking on the prestigious, highly insulated title of Mission Commander. You are now the critical bridge flawlessly connecting the terrifying, visceral violence of the physical field with the cold, calculating geopolitical objectives of the deep state. You no longer wear unbranded, blood-stained tactical gear. You wear unremarkable, perfectly tailored, incredibly expensive civilian clothing. Your new highly destructive weapon is not a suppressed rifle, but an array of encrypted communication terminals instantly connecting you directly to dozens of deep cover assets scattered across multiple volatile continents. Your daily existence is a terrifying masterclass in massive, illegal, and completely untraceable logistical orchestration. When an isolated ghost team desperately needs a sudden influx of untraceable heavy weaponry to completely destabilize a highly specific, mineral-rich resource corridor, you absolutely do not submit a formal requisition form to the official military. You independently authorize a highly complex, completely obscured sequence of massive wire transfers routed through 14 different offshore shell companies located in Caribbean tax havens. You use these untraceable funds to purchase a massive cargo plane full of aging, highly lethal munitions directly from an absolutely ruthless arms trafficker, meticulously ensuring the devastating weapons are quietly airdropped precisely into the designated target zone in the dead of night without a single digital trace ever leading back to your home government. You actively construct incredibly elaborate, utterly watertight cover stories, routinely fabricating entire phantom, highly radicalized terrorist organizations strictly to claim public responsibility for the catastrophic, targeted violence your highly trained ghost teams are secretly executing on the ground. At this high-pressure, incredibly powerful level, you experience a profound, deeply chilling emotional and psychological detachment from the reality of human suffering. You actively view the brave, our deeply damaged ghost operators you directly command not as former brothers-in-arms or even human beings, but simply as highly volatile, remotely operated, and entirely disposable tools positioned on a massive, highly complex geopolitical chessboard. You are completely insulated from the visceral horror of the battlefield, coldly calculating mathematically acceptable collateral damage with the exact same unfeeling efficiency of a ruthless corporate executive, balancing a highly toxic financial portfolio, having definitively proven your absolute mastery in flawlessly managing invisible global violence and completely erasing the massive footprints of the sovereign state. You are ultimately elevated to the ultra-classified and completely untouchable echelons of the absolute elite intelligence community. You officially become a directorate liaison, universally known among the ultimate global elite simply as the architect. You now operate exclusively in the terrifying, completely unregulated nexus where legitimate, publicly elected government authority secretly and seamlessly intersects with absolute, unchecked shadow power. You absolutely no longer plan individual tactical missions or micromanage localized weapon drops in the desert. You are now the silent, unseen hand actively drafting the long-term grand strategic blueprint for targeted, global, geopolitical instability. You comfortably sit in highly secure, technologically swept subterranean conference rooms with untouchable politicians, deeply compromised central bank directors, and the incredibly wealthy global CEOs of massive shadow resource conglomerates. These immensely powerful individuals casually present you with their ultimate, highly illegal, and immensely profitable geopolitical desires. Perhaps a democratically elected, highly popular sovereign government in South America desperately needs to violently collapse within 6 months to absolutely prevent the impending nationalization of their critical lithium reserves. Or perhaps a highly specific, rapidly growing anti-Western political movement in West Africa must be systematically eradicated from existence before it gains any legitimate democratic momentum. You absolutely do not offer cautious military advice or suggest diplomatic negotiations. You strictly offer guaranteed, completely deniable, and highly lethal solutions. You silently authorize the synchronized and completely illegal deployment of multiple lethal ghost units, highly aggressive cyber warfare divisions, and vast networks of paid, violent political provocateurs. You meticulously orchestrate complex, multi-layered economic sabotage explicitly designed to completely starve a targeted sovereign nation into absolute submission long before the very first phantom, untraceable bullet is ever actually fired by your operators. You realize with absolute, chilling clarity that the heavily publicized, deeply revered democratic process and the foundational concept of national sovereignty are merely comforting illusions meticulously maintained solely to pacify the ignorant masses. The actual violent trajectory of human history is ruthlessly dictated entirely by an incredibly tiny, completely unelected cabal of men exactly like you, operating entirely without any legal oversight, basic morality, or fear of public accountability. You have successfully become a terrifying god of the geopolitical shadows, completely untethered from the fundamental laws of human civilization, shaping the destiny of millions from a soundproof room. Finally, after decades of surviving and thriving in the absolute darkest, most violent corners of the human experience, you reach the absolute, terrifying zenith of the unacknowledged global hierarchy. You are officially the director of special access programs, a man whose real name and history are completely, permanently erased. You report to absolutely no one. You are the ultimate, undisputed custodian of the massive nation's darkest, most devastating secrets. From your secure, technologically impenetrable subterranean sanctuary, you quietly look out over a glowing global map completely illuminated by the countless invisible, highly destructive fires you have personally ignited across multiple continents. You possess the terrifying, unquestioned, and absolutely godlike authority to completely erase entire rural communities, systematically topple long-standing sovereign governments, and fundamentally alter the geopolitical economic balance of the entire world with just a single highly encrypted, completely untraceable digital command sent from your customized terminal. Every decision you make sends invisible shockwaves across the globe, destroying innocent lives while protecting the entrenched wealth of the ruling elite who quietly fund your black budget. The sitting president of your country is merely a temporary public employee. You, however, are the permanent, absolutely untouchable shadow institution. But as you silently survey your vast, invisible, and incredibly bloody empire of state-sponsored terror, a chilling realization sets in. The massive, insatiable geopolitical machine you have spent your entire adult life meticulously building is completely, irreversibly out of your control. The constant, aggressively manufactured global instability absolutely required to continuously justify the massive hidden budget and continued existence of your lethal shadow units has successfully created a highly volatile, completely unpredictable, and terrifyingly fractured world that even you can no longer accurately model or fully contain. The ghost units you aggressively deployed to covertly dismantle foreign adversaries have inevitably mutated, actively creating entirely new, highly sophisticated hybrid enemies that now absolutely require even more extreme, highly deniable violence to temporarily suppress. It is a terrifying, infinitely self-consuming loop of absolute global destruction. You finally realize with absolute, crushing dread that you have not successfully secured the massive global empire. You have simply accelerated its catastrophic, inevitable collapse from the inside out. But there is absolutely no turning back now. The cold, unforgiving shadows are the only reality you have left. Stay tuned, because the true, devastating cost of maintaining this massive global empire is about to be paid entirely in blood. And the final war will absolutely not be fought on a distant foreign battlefield, but deeply, violently within the completely shattered minds of the nameless operators forced to relentlessly pull the trigger in the dark.